take you back to the early 2000s. You're an average preteen barely peeking over the mountain of understanding, finally getting a real grasp on how this weird little thing called life works. You've seen enough bad to know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but seen enough good to know not all hope is lost. This recurring theme seems keen on spawning thoughts of who you think you're supposed to grow up to be, and sitting in a confined classroom for 7 hours each day, listening to perpetual lectures isn't exactly what you have in mind for what you want to be doing, is it? Besides getting that good nut and sleeping all day, there's little else to enjoy at this age. You may not yet know what you want to do, but you know that you don't want to do this. You want to do something. Go to school, go to college, get a job, get promoted, retire, and die. That's not for you. You can either die a hero, or see yourself become a miserable middle-aged man or woman with a life you hate. You may be young and stupid, but you know for a fucking fact that there's something missing. And that's when you hear the call. You're sitting there watching TV, and commercials start rolling. Suddenly, a masked man in this badass military suit kicking the ass of aliens envelops the screen. Screaming dreams cream the pants of your brain as your every wish materializes in the advertisement for this video game. What is this? You would ask yourself. Perhaps it's time to find out.
I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, and there was some pretty tragic things going on in my life.
At that point in my life, I think maybe the best, if I had to describe it in one word, lonely.
I was a teenager, kind of figuring myself out, kind of what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, what I wanted to be a part of.
I was a burger flipper for a while.
My parents fought a lot.
Parents got divorced.
I did suffer from a lot of depression.
I was living with my dad at the time because my mom was doing some crazy ass shit.
Or my brother, Ryan, was killed in Iraq. He was also like a contributing factor after his passing. That was basically something that allowed me to get more interested in a lot of military video games and stuff like that.
I feel like I blocked out a lot of stuff that I didn't like. And there's some bad instances, like when my grandmother died.
And to find an escape, I needed video games. I needed something to keep my mind occupied.
I was really longing for more connections with people.
And so every waking moment was Halo. So to try and escape the shit of real life, and that was okay with me because it was just exactly what I wanted.
And so I kind of focused more on what I could do online. And that just felt easier to me. It came more naturally to me to talk to people online. And so I realized through Halo that you could have friends over the internet, and they could be really good, close friends that you could share your deepest, darkest secrets and desires and stuff with.
Life wasn't really going good. Everything really sucked. Everything was kind of stale, boring, sad. But Halo was there and it was fun to play. Always kept my head up.
It allowed me to become more of the person that I am today.
It was kind of everything that I was doing when I was from 13 to maybe 18 years old, and even some of my college years. And it was a whole new experience of what multiplayer gaming was. I don't know, it was just a whole new thing that I'd never experienced before. And as soon as we played that one game, we were hooked for the rest of the night. I remember begging him to let me borrow his Xbox so I could take it home and play some more.
Halo was my drug, for sure.
That was beautiful.
Wow, thank you.
Yes, yes. Round of applause, everyone.
Oh my God. Wow.
was like the blockbuster movies of video games. It was like whenever Star Wars came out, probably. It was probably like the Star Wars for our generation, maybe.
Making my own thoughts on the whole story is like... There's so much lore, like I don't know, you can really just go off on everything.
Gosh, when I think of the man in the green suit, the big armored boy, Master Chief, I just feel straight up nostalgia. He was such a powerful figure. He was like my dad.
He's the most badass character I've ever seen in any video game.
It's perfect because you play as him during the campaign, and you actually feel like you're Master Chief.
Like, it made me feel like, shit, I'm actually something.
It would have to be Halo 1, 2, Reach, 3. It's not in order, but story is the greatest. All of those games, especially Halo Reach, like Halo Reach has one of the best stories that I've ever seen.
I definitely imagined what it would be like if like Halo rings actually existed.
It's incredible. It's the best thing that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And this is when I'm a kid.
You know what, I gotta sit up to talk about this, fuck.
And I'm like, I have these tingles going through my whole entire body. Just, this is the most incredible being that's ever existed. I just feel inspired. I feel like I want to go back and relive my childhood.
I just honestly feel like Halo was the one thing that allowed me to appreciate a lot of story.
There's something about it. It's just like you get onto the Halo, and it's something that's just awesome about it.
I mean, it's always been over the top, and it's always been this kind of actiony sci-fi drama that just, it's a saga.
And the themes too. I think the theme of like Cortana, and if like AIs could actually have feelings for a human being, or if they, you know, how much control are you willing to give them? Those are themes that are very mature and like
Really cool. And the story was really well done.
It was actually like the precursor to things such as my interests in World War II.
I played through all of Halo 1 multiple times. I played through all of Halo 2 multiple times, and all of Halo 3 multiple times. I read the books too.
I think it would have been a lot harder to get into reading, actually. I never read before I started really reading into like Halo lore. I bought their books.
I couldn't tell you the exact plots of each of them now. I read them when I was a kid. But I remember reading the...
Fuck me. Fucking.
It was just fun, and I loved every single bit of it. It made me feel like I was actually a part of that game. It made me feel like badass, actually. It made me feel great.
there's just nothing like it. There's no series like that anymore.
It was just an emotional roller coaster. Like, you're there and they attack your ship and you're like,
Fall of Reach, for example, which was a prequel to, or I think it was maybe the start of the war with the Covenant. And that particular book really was super inspiring, with the whole entire story behind Master Chief being expanded upon.
you just felt more invested into the game, and it was awesome.
The campaigns for both Halo 3 and Reach, because those were the only ones that I had played at the time, and then ODST came afterwards, it like gave me a lot of creative juices for other things that I was into as well, like movie making. Storytelling wise, that's what like the basis of all of my ideas come from, is the way that they told it and the lore behind it too. It's just so seamless. So good.
Halo 3 is probably my favorite game. There was so much that happens in that game.
I think about it a lot. It's a very like, it's just like, it's hard to find a game like that.
Like, you're sitting there shooting everything up, and like, you want the Covenant off the planet Earth. You're like, fuck you, get off my fucking shit.
You had like, you just had a cohesive story and cohesive setting that it just fit, and you could see it happening like in real life a little bit.
And I was like, this can't get any more real. This can't get any better.
To me, I don't know why, but that captivated me within the first hour of the game. Everything combined made that game what it is, and it was fucking phenomenal. makes me feel good. It makes my pee-pee hard.
Please, Mom, please, Dad, can I please just take like the big screen TV from home to Caleb's house for the weekend?
The Halo 3 multiplayer was like god tier. I mean, it was the best in terms of competitiveness and gameplay wise. It was awesome.
Over the years, they've experimented with like whether making it more fast-paced or slower paced. So I think Halo 1 is the slowest paced game. It takes the longest to actually bring someone down, and there's not as much because it's an older game, there's not as much like feedback when you're actually bringing someone's shields down and killing them. While in Halo 2, it's a little bit quicker paced, and it's easier to run away and outmaneuver someone and do all sorts of tricks to bring someone down and kill them.
You had these huge teams pitted against each other with all the tools and arsenal that you find now in AAA games. I mean, it's like they were just ahead of its curve. There has been, in my opinion, no better gunplay than Halo Reach, because they had all those years of perfecting the gameplay from 1 to 3.
The gameplay is honestly very memorable, very easy to figure out. Like throughout the story, throughout the multiplayer, everyone knew how to play it.
We would all like crowd around in a room no bigger than this, and like in every corner there'd be a TV and 4 people per TV, and we just like game and drink soda and eat pizza all night.
And then when Reach came out, it was just the pinnacle of what Bungie can do. And then when they made Destiny, they kind of brought that gameplay back, but then we don't have to talk about that.
I decided to just start like posting on the MLG forums, being like, hey, who's in North Texas and wants to LAN? So I would rent out conference rooms at UNT for like 6 hours straight, and then random people would just bring their TVs over. We would LAN MLG all weekend or all night.
Me and my brother obviously aren't the best brothers. Like, we still have our differences and stuff, but I always like to think back when we were younger and we would just like play together. We would play Halo 2, and after we got our 360, we would play Halo 3 together. And I would always like sit back and watch him play and make machinima.
Most fun multiplayer experience across the board, like on all the Halo games.
I feel like the gameplay for Halo doesn't have a whole lot of things like it, and at the same time, it kind of does, because it inspired so many things and it's starting to get mixed into the bag with the sequels coming out. And they weren't even the first ones to do the first-person shooter thing, but they were one of the first games that really brought it to the limelight. I mean, sure, you had Doom, and you had these other games that were on the PC, but you didn't have a whole lot of depth with those games, like actual depth when you look down the perspective of the player.
It was so different for me as a kid. Like, I played Kingdom Hearts, I'd played some different games when I was a kid, and I mean, they were all right, but playing Halo, like a first-person shooter that was really action-packed, that had a lot to do, had a lot going for it. It was just fun, and I loved every single bit of it.
Whenever I was starting to get like 19 to 21 kills a game, that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm hot shit.
The gameplay that way was really interesting. You had all this kind of fiction and like people who had their favorite stuff that they were going towards, and stuff building up like that.
HCS, I think it's called, like Halo Championship Series or something. They're doing like a grassroots effort where they bring back Halo 3. So they're doing like tour stops of Halo 3 tournaments, and Microsoft stores are hosting Halo 3 tournaments. And so I went to one a month ago, and I went to one last Sunday. I won the one last month, and I got second place the one this Sunday.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I got like a bunch of gift cards and a 6-month Game Pass, and like, so it's cool.
That's so cool.
The music was
Euphoria.
The most beautiful thing that I've actually ever listened to, just
unbelievable, and it really pulls you into the game. I think that's my favorite thing.
every single time there's a scene like when Numa Boss is getting destroyed, when High Charity arrives, the soundtrack.
It's what makes the campaign so good. It's what makes the gameplay whenever you're playing and you hear the music.
The soundtrack just fits so well into the story and into anything that it's a part of. It's just beautiful.
Literal euphoria. I get goosebumps every single time I listen to the track. I was listening to it on the way here, and I was just like, I'm gonna get a speeding ticket because I love this fucking soundtrack so much, and it just makes it that much more like epic. Such a 2010 word to use, but like that's the word epic.
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here?
Halo changed my life with everything, actually.
Like, I think Halo it still is like the greatest game. It's like, it's a game that I'm gonna play with my kids.
That's pretty interesting. It's like a cultural phenomenon, like something that's
Kind of the cultural phenomenon that Halo came out, it connected people all across the globe.
And you're gonna see some of the most badassery stuff you're gonna ever see in your life. This is what your daddy played. This is what you're gonna play. And then this is what your kids are gonna play.
Before Halo, I didn't really have like a whole lot of closely knit friends.
I wasn't very social when I was a kid, and it was really hard to talk to people. It was really hard to make friends, but
competing and traveling like with friends of mine to different tournaments and just like the camaraderie that we have.
I made tons of friends. I made tons of online friends. I met a lot of them actually, and I kept most of them even to this day.
We still talk to this day. We have a Discord that we're all in together.
Whenever they can understand it, whenever they're old enough, like, I'm gonna get an Xbox 360 and I'm gonna put it down in front of them and I'm gonna say,
This is gonna sound super cheesy, but it's like hope for mankind.
We would just talk and hang out just in custom lobbies the whole entire time.
That was a good time. No alcohol required.
And so I think it was very therapeutic though to go and win a match in a big team battle where you literally in the game are killing other people.
That you could have the most badass person protect the entire human race. I think that is just such it's like Jesus.
Making midnight runs to Whataburger between like matches and stuff like that.
We would go into custom games and make movies, which is where machinima comes from.
Oh, you know, I watched Red vs. Blue. I would go to YouTube and just search Halo Machinima and just see whatever would pop up, and I'd watch the whole entire 3 or 4 pages of videos that popped up.
I had like a plan for a machinima that I wanted to create, which was called the Virus Epidemic. It was some like weird like zombie shit that I wanted to do, and I had like when I was in like middle school, and I had like full scripts.
To get into these games with all these creators making movies out of a video game. That was so fucking cool.
I was really into it, and I don't know where it is, but if I ever found those scripts, like I wanna do something with it. But I was writing the hell out of it. Like I don't know why I'm not a script writer right now.
That's brought us together and kind of been the connective tissue between all that. I think that's kind of the coolest thing that Halo has done for me or my life.
I'm excited for Halo Infinite. I think it'll be a good game. I hope it is. I hope it reinvigorates the franchise and gets me to play it again. If this documentary does anything, I hope it does that. Gets people hyped.
I'm Tristan Rouse, and I'm Caboose.
My name is Colton, and I am Spartan 52.
My name is Tony, and I'm the battle rifle.
My name is Noah, and I am Buck.
my name is Chi, and I'm Master Chief. But during that time that I owned Halo 3, I was going through some really dark times. During that time, my mom ended up going to the mental hospital. And it was really hard for me to kind of go through that because I didn't get to see her that often. And at the same time, my dad ended up having heart problems, and all these paramedics came in, and they were like, my dad had like passed out, and they're sitting there and they're putting him on the gurney, and I don't know if he's gonna be okay. And my dad, he was in and out of a coma. It felt like I couldn't figure out if he was gonna live or not during that time. When I was on the Xbox, I could just kind of forget about everything. I could play Halo, and it was awesome. I loved it, and I'm glad that Halo was the game that I played, because it really helped me out during that time. I mean, I really missed that time because I finally beat Halo 3 on Legendary. I think that was my favorite memory, is finally beating on Legendary, even though it was during a weird time. I'm confident Halo changed my life. Bitch.
A Super Nintendo, a PlayStation 2, and the PC. This was my holy trinity, the sanctified Triforce ascending me from infancy to adulthood, almost as if these 3 consoles were partially raising the baby I once was into the man I now am. Never did I ever own any version or model of the Xbox, but the waves I felt from its influence shook the foundations of my childhood. There was nothing particularly interesting to me regarding the hardware, but there was a certain program that ran exclusively on the device. A game that I've never owned, yet one that I would exhaust an uncountable amount of hours, manifesting some of the most momentous memories I would ever make during my youth. The sleepovers I'd attend at my friend's house, pulling all-nighters through a 4-player split-screen deathmatch with the greatest mates one could ask for, on a game that I would consider one of the most legendary. A game series called Halo. Thank you all for watching. Take to the comments to answer these 3 questions for me. What video game should I do next? What can I do to make you click that stupid bell icon? And why aren't you supporting me on Patreon? I'll make videos for you, and I'll make a poem about you, just like this.
Your nice ass is mine, Skya69. There are none that can compare to the unstoppable audio air. You make me want to swallow grenades because you're so beautiful, Cora Jade. You have the thickest of all the dicks. Out for us, come give me a kiss when I'm lost and lonely. Sergeant Toasty is my homie, and thank you everyone else who gave me money, and thank you everyone else who didn't give me money, who definitely should consider giving me money, because it will sure be cool if I could do this thing full time. But you do what you want to. Toodles.
I mean, there was one specifically in the game where I got really upset at somebody online, and I thought it was the end of the world. I thought it was the end of the world because they didn't want to be friends with me anymore or something. I don't know. I think it was because, you know, they realized that they were like talking to a kid online, and they were older. I think they were maybe in high school or something at the time, but they realized they were hanging out with like a younger kid, and they're like, this is weird, I don't want to do this anymore, and tried to like cut off all ties with me. And I remember I reported them. I remember I reported them for everything that you could report them for. And I was like, yeah, you guys are done for. Like, you screwed me over for the last. I was so upset.